Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everybody joining us. I'm Robbie Hamza. This is The Talk. We're joined today by a beautiful friend of ours, Dean Iossifides.
Got it right.
I got it right.
Finally.
Alhamdulillah. So Dean's usually hosting this. We're usually hosting this together, but today we've put you in the hot seat, mate, so we can have a little bit of a yarn about you, because you've got an interesting story, and I think people would be interested to hear sort of where you came from, how you came into Islam and all that sort of stuff. But bro, just to get a bit of background, like some bio on you, how old are you?
37 in August, inshallah.
Inshallah. Now you're, as if the name wasn't enough of a giveaway, Iossifides, right? You're half Greek or full Greek?
Full Greek. Full Greek, just born here.
Oh, you're full Greek. I always thought half for some reason.
Nah.
What about mum and dad? Were they born overseas or here?
Mum was born in Egypt. That's where you get the half from. Yeah.
She was born in Egypt?
Born in Egypt, Greek, born in Egypt, yeah. So
SubhanAllah.
both parents Greek, inshallah.
Are there a lot of Greeks in Egypt?
Apparently so. There used to be. Apparently it was back when mum moved over or whatever. I think it was the second biggest population of Greeks outside of Greece at that time.
When did she come here?
Man, that's a long time ago, bro.
What, when she was roughly how old?
She was 4 years old when she came here.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, does she have an accent? But that's a no.
She's Aussie as they come.
So were you raised religious, with any religion?
Nah, to be honest, look, born Greek Orthodox.
Yeah.
Family, like my grandparents probably, practiced a decent amount.
Went to church, did all that?
Church, every now and then, wouldn't say, regular and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, sorry, were they here as well? Obviously.
Yeah. They were here. So born here, grandparents came over here as well.
Went to Greek Orthodox Church?
Greek Orthodox Church, yeah. So,
that's pretty strict, right?
Pretty strict, yeah.
Yeah.
So, look, I wouldn't say strict, but I guess...
I'm sort of thinking probably like Maronites. I'm thinking Lebanese Maronite, which are like quite...
Like that. Nah, look, put it this way, probably the better word to say is headstrong in their beliefs.
Headstrong.
Yeah, headstrong.
That's a good word for the Greeks.
That's a polite word to use. So I'll use that one. Yeah, so same thing. Mum, Greek Orthodox, wholesome family. Look, alhamdulillah, I can't complain. I think I was the black sheep of the family.
Brothers, sisters?
No, only child.
Only child. Raised by mum and dad?
By mum. So never knew my dad.
Okay.
So mum, just single parent, was actually raised in a household full of women. So my mum, my two aunties growing up.
Okay.
So that had its challenges.
Yes, it does.
Definitely had its challenges.
You should be an emotionally intelligent person somewhat, though, as a result of that.
Yeah, I should be, but it maybe I am. I don't know.
Maybe you are.
We'll see. But yeah, so raising a family, raising a household with mum, her two sisters, my cousins. So that was good. And then I guess during school and that sort of thing, I was good at school, man. I was a smart kid, I think.
Public school, private school?
Public school. I think I was intelligent enough at school, articulate, all the rest of it. But then you started seeing report cards, Dean doesn't apply himself, all the regular stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess family life growing up had its troubles. A lot of it stemmed from looking back now. I look back now and say this stuff, but at the time it's angry, just angry young kid as we all are. Some more than others, me more than others. Rebellion, all that sort of stuff. Just not having that guidance. Not having guidance, not having a set structure, all that sort of stuff. And now knowing what I know now, I come to realise that I've got ADHD as well. So back then, just absolutely no idea about it. Mum wouldn't have had any idea about it. They didn't know what that stuff was back then.
Yeah.
So,
did that, like when you say you look back on it, did that manifest in terms of like being like hyperactive or just unable to concentrate? What?
Bit of both.
Bit of both.
And then
attention seeking?
Yeah.
That manifested with me later in life. Yeah. But ADHD as well, same thing. But I wasn't an attention seeker as a kid. But I am now.
I don't think as much growing up, the attention seeking part, I think that just got over time. And that was like coming down to, you're in school, in your class and all that sort of stuff. If you miss something, like this is me looking back on it now, you miss something or you're not up to date with what's going on, instead of putting your hand up, asking for help, that sort of thing. It just, I guess it stems and it comes out in, just misbehaviour and all that sort of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
We had this conversation the other night about, about one of the guys we were talking about.
Yeah.
And same sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So in a situation, instead of being able to be a positive participant in the group or whatever it is, classroom, whatever the case may be, not being able to function in that respect, or not coming across intelligent, whatever you want to call it. So then you act out instead of it. That's basically what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, school life. I look like now when I do think about it, and all this stuff it's just all coming to me now, so it's going to be a little bit messy. But not growing up, not having my father around in my life, I think that had a massive impact. Didn't realize it at the time, but had a massive impact. Not having that guidance, not having that male role model, not having that figure to, I guess, emulate from and an example, right? That's the beauty about our Islam, alhamdulillah, we've got an example that we can look to,
Alhamdulillah.
and it's a good example, but not having that, I guess, brought its troubles along.
So you said at the time you didn't realise it. You didn't sort of look around at families around you, I guess, the mum and dad household and sort of think, man, I wish I had that.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess when I say I didn't realise at the time, I didn't realise the impact that would have.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But
yeah.
100% in, going at school, going to people's houses, that sort of thing, barbecues, friends' houses, all that sort of stuff. You see that family unit, and you're like, wow, I want that. Or what's wrong with me that I don't have that? My mum, God bless her, man. Alhamdulillah, she's amazing mum. She's a beautiful person.
MashaAllah.
Raised me the best she could, but I think it comes down to doesn't matter. Like my mum sacrificed everything for me, literally everything. Never went. Didn't work out for my father. He was never around. Basically, sort of said to her that I don't think the child's mine. No, my mum's the only person. My dad was the only person my mum's ever been with.
Wow.
She turned around and
That's
because
harsh,
of, it is what it is. Relationships break down, but she was like, you know what? I don't want to move on or bring another man into my son's life. It was her way of. She made that sacrifice, so she was never with another person again. She solely wanted to focus on me, and she did the best she could, and that ideal was great. But I guess it came with its problems as well, So as you're growing up, getting a bit older, having that responsibility on you to, be the man of the house at such a young age and look after stuff and be the husband, be the father, be the son, be all of that,
Yeah.
So that came with a lot of problems as well, So
It's tricky, and it's pressure, I mean,
100%.
exactly what you're describing. My household was the same, minus the extra people, but it was mum, and same thing. You've got to be, you're the son, but you're the friend, you're the husband, you're the counsellor, and all those things, and we're just not equipped to be all those things.
There's no end to that, It's just it's 24/7. There's no weekends and breaks from that. It's that's your role, and there's no stopping that sort of thing. So
there's nothing to sort of distract them from you.
Nah,
which is hard sometimes.
Yeah, definitely hard, man. So, so obviously I think I was angry as a kid because my father wasn't in my life, all that sort of stuff. Every birthday for 22 years, just through my childhood and my younger adolescent years and stuff like that. It was like waiting for that phone call every birthday, waiting every Christmas, that sort of thing. Obviously, I was non-Muslim, so never came, and it just would make me more resentful and more angry and that sort of stuff. I think so. Man, I out of school, I sort of didn't know what I wanted to do, that sort of thing. I left school in grade 11. Me and my mum sort of broke off from the family, like the sisters went their separate ways, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they weren't married either. So, one was married, divorced. One, father wasn't around. Typical sort of thing, and so it was just straight women, no male role models. So I think I was grade 11 or something like that. It was time for me to start earning some money, support my mum. I saw my mum struggling, that sort of thing. My mum, she had a couple of she had cancer twice, so she had breast cancer twice.
So when you're in high school?
Yeah, when I was in high school, so that was pretty hard. Also, early in my high school years, I lost my grandfather as well. So that was
obviously mum's dad.
Mum's dad, yeah. So that's all. Yeah, don't know my dad's side of the family.
And have you ever, like, as an adult, do you know his details? Like, have you ever thought to look for him?
We speak now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, subhanallah.
Yeah. So
when did that happen?
So I think it was when I was about 22, I got a random phone call. Yeah,
Stop
my
it.
mum got a random phone call.
Wow.
I mean, so this is where it gets a bit crazy for me. So I sort of I stopped. I worked, did all that stuff, sort of, to support my mum, especially she was going through that cancer stuff. So I wanted to, be there for her and make some money. I had obviously hopes and dreams and all that sort of stuff, but that was sort of pushed to the side because I had to get out there and make some money. So we came from nothing. So I think around 20, it wasn't 21 till I touched drugs or alcohol or anything like that. Just wasn't interested in it up until then. I had cars and, a bit of an outlet, hobbies and that sort of stuff. It was all about cars for me. But then I guess when that stopped, I sold the car that I had. I spent heaps of money on whatever it was. And then I had a drift car at the time. And then
What did you start doing for work?
I was labouring for a bit. So I always wanted to be a mechanic, a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
So I had a dream job in a performance workshop at that time. I was 18, I was a kid, all the rest of it. But yeah, same sort of thing. Just whenever these money problems would come up or, mum needed that support, I'd just, I guess, drop what I was doing and get something that was going to pay decent enough wage to, give her some money and sort of support both of us at the time.
It's a noble thing to do, inshallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So then, I guess 21, I sort of put down the car stuff and picked up the drugs.
Yeah.
And then that was fun for a couple of years, I'll say fun, at the time. It wasn't, definitely wasn't a problem. Everything was disposable too, all the rest of it. So having fun and dealing with that. And then I think I was like 22 when I got that phone call. So that was crazy, man.
So what, mum rings you up one day, guess
I
what?
I was home with my mum. I remember exactly where I was at home. And she tapped me on the phone, on the shoulder. She goes, she had the phone covered and she said, "Your dad's on the phone. Do you want to speak to him?" I was like, "Man, what am I going to say to this guy?"
Wow.
So I didn't take the call then. I said, "Look, let me think about it." You know what I mean? And then out of respect for my mum, he wanted to meet. So he was speaking to my mum or whatever. He said, "Look, it's been a long time. I've done the wrong thing, 1, 2, 3, but he wanted to meet." So out of respect for my mum, to show that she didn't raise, a rude kid or, a disrespectful a man, but, I'll go meet him. And it was a weird situation. It was weird, man, because he had come back, and it was sort of like, "Hey, sorry for that last 22 years, but I'm your father and I want to be your father, So,
Wow.
man, I can't tell you how weird that was for me. Got even weirder. So I guess over the course of a few years, my mum and my dad reconnected.
No way.
Yeah. So they reconnected. So I'm fast forwarding a whole heap of stuff here, by the way. So I'm just that's what I said to you. I'm going to jump back and forth as it comes to me. So I mean, look, I started, down that path of drugs and whatever. I had a good job. I was making good money at the time. Bought my first investment property when I was 22. So I remember where I was too, sitting down and thinking with my mate who I bought that house with, bought as investment, and we were sitting there having a drink, and we're at a bar, and we're like, you know what, life's easy. But young, had nice cars, had nice house, brand new house, had jet ski, all that sort of stuff. So life was easy. Little did I know. So yeah.
And was this being funded by the...
No, it wasn't. So at that time, I was just doing it, Look, I did have a couple of stints in a 15-year period where I did, not to make money, to support my habit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and you know how that goes. So nothing. The stuff is trying to catch water in your hands, man. Just goes slips through your fingers, You don't get anything from that life.
No.
Some people do, but yeah, I definitely wasn't one of those people. So, just trying to piece it
So you work in house, mum and dad, we're talking about mum and dad coming back together.
Yeah, so I'm fast forwarding a few years. So my life was on repeat for about, I don't know, man, for a good 7, 8 years. And that was partying on the weekends. Didn't think I had a problem, going to the coast, getting units, girlfriends, drinking, drugs, just all that young stuff, And it wasn't a problem. But then it's sort of, I can't even pinpoint the time where it changed, and it changed instantly. And I didn't have a problem. Now I have a problem. And that, I guess I noticed that because it was like, I'm not doing it for fun anymore. I'm doing it because I'm in a bad mood, So I turned to that. I'm doing it because shit's going on in my life and I use that as an escape, you know. So, and then it'd be sunny, I'd do it. It'd be raining, I'd do it. You know, all that sort of stuff. So it was just, it was once every now and then. It was once a weekend. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Then it became every other day, and sometimes it was every day. So and obviously that stuff costs a lot of money, you know. So you know, it was just an ugly life, man. At that time, I was doing pretty well, man. It was just me and my mate were living in a 6-bedroom waterfront mansion at Sovereign Island. And I'm not saying this to boast. I'm just saying this because this is
just what happened. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So I was living there. You know, we had a boat, we had jet skis, we had all that stuff. Had a brand new C63 when, you know, at that time, everything a young guy could want. And I ended up, my mum, so she asked my permission basically. She said, "Look, you know, I want to, you know, something sparked up again with your father. Do you mind if this is the thing?" And it was, again, super weird for me, but I'm like, you know what, like, if this makes you happy, 100%. And it also was almost like, you know what, I just want her to have something and somebody.
Yeah.
And it sort of, you know, gives me a bit of relief from that role, and she can actually have that organically without it being like, you know, toxic relationship with her son. Because me and her used to butt heads all the time.
Yeah.
We used to fight over everything. My lifestyle, the way I lived, all that sort of stuff. She's old school. My mum had me when she was 39 as well, so there's a bit of a gap between me, you know, our ages or whatever. And so I was like, no, you know what, go. So that all unfolded. She's like, he wants me to go and live with him back in Sydney. So I'm like, you know what, Mum, go. She did that just as I got a job offer in Sydney. So I moved with an ex-girlfriend down in Sydney at the same time. So I was like, you know what, this makes sense. Life sort of, you know, it's crazy how it works. And over this time, I'd seen my dad a few times, spent a bit of time with him and stuff like that. But it just, man, the heart wasn't there, you know. Like, I know he's my father. He's Islam, you know. Islam tells me to respect my father and support him and that sort of stuff. But it's just, man, it's
if it's not there, if it's that feeling's not there, it's not there.
It's just another human being.
Yeah,
It was a human being that caused me so much pain and suffering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was a resentment I had for him, and I didn't mean to have it. I didn't want to have it, but I had it. You know. So moved to Sydney, and I guess this is where the start of my revert story begins. So just remember in the back of your mind, living this lifestyle up here, thinking that, you know, life's easy, you know, partying, everything, no accountability. But I remember there was a time when I was on Sovereign Island, I had a big night. Nights were getting bigger, bills were getting bigger, the depression was getting bigger. So, and it's just an ugly cycle, just keeps going. And there was a time there where I was like, you know what, there's got to be more to life than this. You know, this is shit. This is not the way I want to live my life. Waking up feeling disgusting about yourself, like just. That money could have gone to a million different places, you know. Alhamdulillah, we do charity stuff now. Like this, you know, I look back on it, or often look back on it and think, man, so many people could have benefited from that money. I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars, you know, just getting waxed over and over and over again. So yeah, I had those glimpses, and I also was, I guess, I was partying with mates that loved that life. And look, I'm not going to lie, I still love it, because it was a big 15 years of my life. All my memories are attached to it, right? But I don't love it in the way that I did. But it's something that's always going to be with me. I know that much, you know. I'm sure you've
those dopamine kicks are burned into our memories, etched into our memories from back then. It's
I look at so many things, table, you know, like everything revolved around it, and so things remind me of it as well, right? So what was I saying?
Journey into religion.
Yeah, so
you're living at Sovereign Island.
So this is where the story gets crazy, right? This is where it gets things start happening. So yeah, I moved down to Sydney. I was with a girlfriend at the time, and had a job offered. I was living in Waterloo in Sydney. Cronulla was like a 20, 30-minute drive, which was 3 hours in Sydney traffic. So I was on the way home from work. I was an impulsive person. I still am, but not as much as I used to be. And I was driving home from work, and I see this bike, and it was a Ducati 1199. You know, it was like a $50,000 bike, Ferrari on 2 wheels. I saw this thing, and I couldn't get my eyes off it. And I was the type of person, I used to manifest things. I used to obsess about them. I used to obtain them. And this was no different. I saw that bike. I had no bike license, no nothing. 3 days later, I had that bike. I ended up financing that bike, buying it, you know, all the rest of it. Couldn't afford it, just an idiot, but just impulse stuff, you know. Bought this bike in my mind, can ride to work, you know, it's easier, travelling, all that sort of stuff. So I had no bike license. I remember getting on this thing going, what do I do? You know, but I think I'm just naturally me and engines, I don't know, just good in the car and on a bike and jet ski, all that sort of stuff, right? Everyone will say that, but so rode this bike for 3-4 months. You know, he was doing stupid stuff on it, wheelies, all that sort of stuff, you know, that young guys do. And then one day, so this is a significant part of this story because this is I believe, I'll pause there for a second. I got a big belief, right? And it's from my experience and from a lot of people around me that Allah will give you that rope, right? And He'll let you run with that rope. And I guess the smart people turn around and make a U-turn in their life and turn back to God or the Creator. Before that, it's too late. But me being me, I'm a type of person, my mum will tell you, that's hot, don't touch it. Oh, it's hot. It's hot. A couple of times before I realised that that's hot, you know, just, I don't know, that's how my brain works. So I was the one who ran with that rope until that rope ran out, and then it comes in the form of a big yank back, you know, a big pull back on that rope. Inshallah, we never get to that point, but for me, it came in a point, and that usually that's a metaphor I'm using, but it usually comes in a form of a calamity, right? Big calamity. That it's like if you haven't turned back to God or you found your purpose in your life and you're just doing whatever you're doing, whims and desires and all that sort of stuff, that you're going to get a big, massive wake-up call, you know? And that thing, event, whatever it is, will make you go, you know what? It'll question your existence and why you're here and purpose and all that stuff, you know? So what happened to me, I was on the way to work on that day. I was a BDM, always been in sales. So I'm wearing a suit, trench coat, helmet, gloves, and I was wearing expensive shoes. I was riding to work, pulled up at a servo, and I was filling up fuel. The bike was loud, and you know it was a sexy bike, so everyone used to look at this thing. Anyways, I pulled up, I'm filling up fuel, and this guy walks past, and he goes, oh mate, nice bike. You know, it's a normal thing. Yeah, no problem. And he comes up to me and he says to me, he goes, you know what they say about bike riders, don't you? I said, I'm about to hear it. And he says, what did he say? He goes, it's not if they're going to break a leg, it's when. And then he walked off. And I was like, man, that's a weird thing to say, you know, like, no one's ever said something like that to me before. And I was a little bit offended, like, is this guy trying to curse me or something, you know? Anyways, I'm walking into the survey, he's walking out, and he goes, oh, mate, look, sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. He's an older guy. He goes, look, 1, 2, 3, this is a story, you know, you're wearing no protective gear, 1, 2, 3. He told me this story about how he came off and his wife made him wear protective gear and it saved his life. My mum told me, my girlfriend at the time told me, everyone told me, because this thing's the fastest production bike at the time, you know, so this thing's just a death trap on 2 wheels. And so no, everyone used to say to me, wear protective gear and stuff. I never used to wear it. For some reason, that guy on the way back didn't do wheelies on the way to work, didn't speed, nothing like that. And I remember looking at the ground, you know, how fast it was moving. He goes, because he said to me, he goes, you got expensive shoes on, you know, what's going to happen if you come off this thing, 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, you know what, this guy's right. You know, if I come off this thing, man, I'm gone, you know. So I just rode back to work normal. Instead of going back to work, it was my lunch break. I thought I'd just go, it was in Cronulla, I'd just go for a ride through Cronulla and then I'll go back to work. So from Allah that I did this. Anyways, I'm stopped at a set of traffic lights and it was 3 lanes going forward, 1 turning lane and 2 lanes going straight. So I'm in the turning lane. I was about 10 cars back. I'm on the bike and I'm just sitting there waiting for the light to turn green. And then, yeah, I end up getting smashed from the back. So there's a taxi driver behind me. And, you know, I won't say what ethnicity they are, but they can't drive. And he's sort of, you know, off and on the accelerator. So he was on his phone because they got the footage. He was on his phone and he looked up and it was a green light to go straight, but it was still red arrow. But he saw green, hit the accelerator. So it rode up, his bike rode up my rear tyre because I had a really wide rear tyre. And it crushed my leg between a bike and a taxi. Oh. So, yeah, I remember just this guy. So the thing was the taxi was in the air. And this guy gets out, he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I just took my helmet off, pegged that and said, get this effing thing off me, you know what I mean? All the adrenaline, whatever. So I just remember seeing people in traffic, like it was actually on the news, this thing. It was that bad, the accident. And so anyways, basically what happened, I went to stand, fractured a compound fracture, so bone through the skin, severed 2 nerves.
Oh,
I was in an ambulance, but I'm completely fine, just a bit shaken at this time, adrenaline and stuff. And all I could think about was this guy cursed me. It was 1 hour, no joke, because I looked at the time. Wallah, it was 1 hour to the dot after that guy said to me about breaking a leg, right?
that's crazy.
So anyway, subhanAllah.
SubhanAllah.
So basically, I'll run through this part really quick because I know, this is dragging on a little bit.
It's not. It's a good. It is to you because you know the story. I don't know it, so it's good.
I thought I'd tell you the whole version.
No, good.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So basically in hospital, fast forward, I got this broken leg. I can't move my foot at all, and recovery was really bad. So 5 days that ex-girlfriend I was living with lasted. She couldn't look after me because it was full on. That's it. It was done between me and her.
She bailed into it in the middle.
I cut it off because it was just like, man, if you can't stick around for this, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, then you're not worth sticking around for. See you later. So basically, I was in a cast for however long you're in a cast for, but I was in a wheelchair for six months, and then I was in crutches for a year, and it took me a year to learn how to walk. So
Wow.
I had like a foot drop. So it was like literally proper like disabled. So it was a 50-50 chance if I was going to walk again. So
And you're how old? 20.
and this is 7 years ago now. So
Oh, that's not that long ago.
yeah. So yeah, I was 30 at the time.
Wow.
So yeah, so that whole situation happened. And obviously I was a week out of my 3-month probation period, lost my job, all that sort of stuff. I was on work cover. So this is the pullback, right? So remember, I got all this stuff, assets and all this stuff, cars and all those toys. So fast forward, I'll get through this part quick. Every single thing that I had in my life, I lost. So the house, had to sell the house that I lost because basically I was on work cover and they pay you like for 10 weeks and then it starts dropping. So I ended up getting 60% of my wage for a certain period. My expenses are up here and my income's now here.
Yeah,
So
your expenses aren't at 60%, just the
everything's
income.
gone, man. Everything's gone. So cars gone, repossessed, bike repossessed, all this sort of stuff. Everything was financed. But alhamdulillah, I look at it because I had no idea that interest was forbidden back at that time.
Sure.
So for me, I look at it now, I'm like, you know what, alhamdulillah, Allah cleaned my slate for me, But yeah, so every bit of savings I have, my mates at the time, same sort of degenerates, yeah? I was a degenerate, they were as well. So they're bringing me up bags to the hospital. Yeah. My recovery is one prescription medication, this medication up my nose. So it was just, that then became like even worse because now I'm at home. I can't sleep in a bed. I got my leg on the couch. I have to sleep on the couch. I can't really move. My mum had to come look after me. I couldn't walk from 2 meters to go to the bathroom. That's how bad it was. So I was just, the drug and alcohol use just went through the roof, and that's going up, and all my assets are going out that way. So it was a really rough time, and during that time I met a Turkish girl. So I started a relationship with her. She was Muslim. She wasn't really practicing at the time, but the one thing she said to me was, if we are going to look at a relationship, you just got to be open to the idea of Islam. I told this girl whatever she wanted to hear, man, at the time. It didn't even come into my mind. She never once brought up about anything about Islam, never forced it upon me, anything like that. So she was with me for that whole period, that recovery period. Beautiful girl, and Allah reward her for being there when most people wouldn't be.
I mean,
so at that time, relationship broke down with my mum and my dad. Ended up putting his head through a wall because he, sort of abused my mum a little bit. And then I packed her stuff up for her overnight, me and her, and drove back to Brisbane. That was it. So Sydney was in the rear view. And I needed care anyway and that sort of stuff. And I was, even with my recovery, couldn't walk properly, couldn't go to the gym. I was literally like just at home, couldn't really do much. So, obviously the thoughts and stuff with that, it's just you get into this depressive state, can't do anything, So this is where I guess it sort of starts getting a lot worse. So in my amazing state of mind, I thought it was the right thing to do. The way I looked at it was the right thing to do to go and rent a $1,300 a week penthouse in Bulimba. So my mentality was, I can't drive, I don't have a car because I physically couldn't drive, I can't do anything. So I'm at home 24 hours a day So I want my house to be nice, so at least I can have some sort of fun. Couldn't afford it, was an idiot, but I did it. Anyways, so that place was just then become the party house. So everyone would come, we used to party, all my mates and everything like that would come there. And it just became an everyday thing. And couldn't afford I couldn't afford food, but I would pay for a rack and putting stuff on my nose. And then just started accumulating, bills and debts and all that sort of stuff. So my life was just disgusting. I would stay up all night to, probably 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I would sleep, wouldn't look at my phone, didn't want to look at my phone because just dramas and real life stuff. I'm just sitting here drinking and partying, trying to escape this reality, right? All the while, I had obviously a big compensation claim that I was waiting for. So I couldn't literally go out and do anything because I had private investigators on me, all that sort of stuff. So I was just there partying and just mental state is getting worse and worse. So my mum's obviously by herself. So, whenever my mum get lonely and she would be depressed, my son's life is like this, and her life wasn't too good as well. So I would bring her in and she'd come stay with me, and for a period of time, that's happened throughout my whole life. So here I am. I have my mum coming over and visiting me. And every single day it would be like there was a drama to sort out. We got this bill. It's massive. How do we pay this? And my mum would be there supportive through the whole thing. So broke up with the Turkish girl. That sort of didn't last. It was a long distance thing anyway. So, that sort of fizzled out. But me and her would still remain friends. So I guess the drug use was so bad that everyone around me would see it and try and pull me out of it, but just you couldn't tell me anything. That was my thing. That was my Allah, astaghfirullah at the time. So this is where I guess the interesting part of the story comes, right? So all these massive bills, all these debts, all this stuff, and I guess the only thing that my ex could do, that Turkish one, she sent me a video. I'll reward her for this video, right? Because this video still remains very close to my heart. And in my arrogance, I didn't watch it. It was a video. Don't be sad, Allah knows, right? Beautiful video.
Hamza Yusuf.
There's a few different speakers in there as well. Didn't watch it. I was like, what is this? What's it going to do for me, right? So about a month later, I was in the media room. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm watching stuff on YouTube. And back then, my phone wasn't attached. I know this like 100%. My phone wasn't attached to my TV, like connected to it. But on the Apple TV, it has on the YouTube, has your related videos and stuff. So for me, it was cars, aliens, conspiracy theories, all this shit, And then right bang in the middle of a screen was this video. And it's Don't Be Sad, Allah Knows. So everything else surrounding this, and it was a center, was this Islamic video. And I sat there for a good 5 minutes. I'm like, man, how did this get here? But I had no idea how, but it was there. So I'm like, you know what? I was in a real bad, there's times, and I guess this is stuff that I miss as well. There was times that I was suicidal, like 100% suicidal. Had a gun, was going to use it. Like this life's not worth living. The whole time I had this court case that just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So I had no money. This side of all this money that was coming, I was in debt. I was just depressed and down. My leg, I might not walk again. All this sort of stuff. Life was just on top of me, and especially with the drug use and stuff, that's just compounded. You're just depressive and just down and out, and come down, all that sort of stuff. So I watched this video, and this video resonated with me, man. It was like everything that I need to see, and you know what? It's one of the miracles about my journey to Islam till today, that every day when I put YouTube on, Allah, every day there's videos that pop up on my feed relating to me on that day, and it could be the most random thing, SubhanAllah, still to this day.
SubhanAllah.
So, this video resonated with me. It was about, not turning to drugs and alcohol and these fake things in life, and for your comfort and happiness, and there's no, this is empty, it's an empty life, and turn to Allah and everything like that. So that happened. Watched that video. 2 minutes into it, crying like a baby. SubhanAllah. Everything just hit directly on my heart. And then watch one more. All these different videos, one into the other. And then that day I woke up, I called. It was actually that day. It was about midday, whatever. I called my ex, and she's like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, I didn't even say anything to her. I said, "Look, don't ask me questions. I want to accept Islam. How do I do that? She goes, what are you talking about? Never had a conversation about this before.
Wow.
Well, I told you, just don't ask me, just tell me how to do it. So I took the Shahada over the phone. Like, this is how much of an impact this had on me, right? I remember I was looking for guidance, but at the same time as well, like I looked at, you know, in the past, in that time, I looked at, you know, Greek Orthodox and Christianity and that sort of thing, and it just didn't make sense to me. Didn't make sense to me, never resonated, it wasn't for me, right? Very, very, very honestly. I took Shahada, and honestly, man, that night was the best sleep I've ever had in my whole life. Like all this stuff was weighing down on me, but I went to sleep, and it was that feeling of everything's going to be fine. You know, it was a feeling of peace. And then, so this is where the miracles start happening, subhanAllah. And I say miracles, and then they're blatant miracles, right? So I woke up that first morning. For once, I was just like, I'm like, man, my mum had been coming for that week. You know, I got this $1,400 electricity bill. My rent's $1,200 overdue. They're going to kick me out. I've given them every excuse under the sun about why my payment's not there. I didn't have pay. My money was that bad that I'd get my pay, my work cover pay, to go into someone else's account, and they would give me money because I was that bad with, I just blow my money on drugs, right?
Wow, yeah.
So I was left with $60 a fortnight before I'd paid rent, before I'd paid for food, nothing like that. So I knew there's no money in my account. I'd already spent it. That $60 is spent 4 weeks before I even get it, right?
Yeah.
So I wake up in the morning, and that day I needed to pay $1,200 to my rent. The lady, my rental lady, she had so much patience with me. She's like, if you don't pay today, you need to grab your stuff and go.
I'm personally going to come down and skull drag you.
She had enough, right? She had enough. Like, you know, the dog ate the check. And that sort of thing, you know? So I was in a situation where I was like, man, I'm going to have no house here. Even though I shouldn't be in the house anyway, I'm just going to have nowhere to live. And it was the last thing that I had that was mine, you know, or that I thought was mine. So what happened? So I woke up that morning, subhanAllah, I rolled over and something said to me to check my account. I know there's no money in there. The money I got paid the Monday. This was on a Wednesday, right? Looked in my account. It's $1,200 in my account. Oh, man, I rubbed my eyes. You know, you see on the movies, you rub your eyes. Put my phone down. Logged out of the app. Logged back in it. $1,200. Did like a couple of times. I was, man, how did this money get into my account? When I lived in Sydney 4 years before that, went into had business with a friend of mine, didn't work out. The guy ripped me off 50 grand, right? So it was degenerate. See you later, man. Don't worry about the money. Don't want nothing to do with you. That was it. He didn't have my phone number, didn't have my email, didn't have my any details, but the only thing he had was my bank account details. So 4 years later, of paying me no money, that day, at that time, that guy decided to make a part payment because it came up, I looked at the history, and it came up with his name, and it was $1,200. Started to make a part payment.
SubhanAllah.
Right, so that was number one. That was the first day, right? Watched lectures and all that sort of stuff for the rest of the day. Tried to, was in his positive mindset. So my mind didn't connect these two together, right? Obviously, I had no idea of God or what God was or anything like that. So for me, it was just coincidence, right? So next day, same thing. Woke up in the morning, had an email. The email was from a real estate agency, and the agency said, Dean Iossifides, can you please call this number? So wake up in the morning, first thing again, see the email, call the number, and he's like, is it Dean? Yeah, 123. He goes, it's so-and-so from this agency, and I was half asleep, so I'm like, man, that's not my real estate, I know the lady, she hates me, she calls me every day, it's not her. And he said, oh, no, I've just taken over management of the real estate agency that you lived in Sydney, and this day, I needed to pay $1,400 to my electricity. I hadn't paid it for a year, right? They turned the electricity off. They physically turned the electricity off. I need to pay $1,400. And he's like, I've just taken over management. We've just done our monthly account keeping, whatever it is. And he said, we've got an unclaimed bond amount in your name. I said, really? He goes, yeah. I said, how much is it? He goes, $1,400.
Oof.
SubhanAllah.
SubhanAllah.
So he goes, I'll transfer it to you. 123 transferred it to me. Right? So that was that. And then the next one, I guess, was the big one for me. Right? So this was a Thursday. I told you before, I had that claim. I was on the phone to lawyers back and forth. They're like, it's not getting settled anytime soon. We were hoping for it to. So I think the week before, she said to me, it was coming up to Christmas. This is a week before Christmas, right? And she said to me, look, it's going to have to go to court. You're looking at another 6 to 12 months. You know what I mean? Like, it's not happening right now. And I was like relying on that money. Everyone was relying on that money, you know, all the debts that I had, all that sort of stuff, you know. So that morning, again, woke up. I had like 15 missed calls from my lawyer, emails, text messages. And this is like, this lady's a partner in the law firm. She's like a big law firm as well. So it's unusual for her to be calling me like, you know, a crazy ex-girlfriend. So I called her and she sounded like full disheveled over the phone. She's like shaky and stuff like that. I'm like, is everything all right? You know, you called me a million times, just woken up. She goes, can you be in Sydney tomorrow? I go, what am I coming to Sydney for? She said, look, I don't know how to explain it, but she said the insurance company reached out to us late last night. That's why I've been trying to call you. And they've called a settlement conference and it's tomorrow. Can you make it? And I said, well, of course I can make it. Right?
On the way.
So, and she goes, look, I got to tell you a few things. Number one, if it 90% of the claims don't, 90% of these settlements don't actually settle at the first settlement conference. I just said settle like 65 times, but anyways, it's not going to go through on the first time, right? That's number one. Number two was majority of the time we won't take this offer because it's going to be drastically lower than what you should get, right? That was number two. Number three was you're going to be down. Oh, and if it does settle for some reason, it's going to be 60 working days before the money's going to be in your account. And number four was you're going to be here 4 or 5 hours back and forth. Their lawyers, our lawyers, all the rest of it, whatever. So I was like, yeah, I'm coming. You know, I booked a flight down. This is the most important day of my life now because it was like everything was hinging on this. So subhanAllah, when I went there, my ex met me there. And she showed me how to make dua, yeah. And I made dua, sincere dua to Allah. And she said, "Look, you've been through hell and back with this." And I'm not even like I haven't even said half of it because I don't remember half of it. You know, all the stuff that I went through. You know, all the stuff that I lost, the people that I hurt. You know, the shit I put my family through, my mother. You know, all that stuff. She's like, you know how much this means to you. You know, have a number in your head and you stick to that number. You know. And I remembered back to the first night I was in that hospital bed, and for some reason, 550,000 came into my mind. I don't know why, not 500, not 600, 550. Don't ask me why. So anyways, made sincere dua to Allah. I went into that settlement conference and subhanAllah, I walked out half an hour later. I settled on 775,000, which gave me 550 grand to the to the dollar in my account. Right? My thing was, I'm not gonna settle unless that money's in my account in 3 working days, so I can buy my mother a Christmas present, right? Because it's near Christmas. So yeah, subhanAllah, half an hour, walked out of there, settled that amount of money.
They settled what? They settled in 3 days?
Yeah, they said to me I'm going to get like 120 grand, 200 grand, whatever it was, right? So alhamdulillah, look, it was from Allah, right? So this was the biggest, I'm overlooking, forget the money. It's not about the money. Forget all that. I'm overlooking and not highlighting the fact that this was the biggest and blessing from Allah. And the third day I accepted Islam, and it was welcome to Islam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This couldn't have happened from any other way but Allah.
SubhanAllah.
Not from you. You tried for 4 years, nothing worked. You accepted Islam, and I accepted it in a sincere way, and alhamdulillah, like that was from Allah, right? But man, it came with a disclaimer, and that disclaimer I wasn't ready for. You know, subhanAllah, that was, I'm going to give you this blessing. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So, that money came, and then all of a sudden, that whole week there was Islam. You know, that money's there now, and you're a young guy with 550 grand in your account. So, you know, my dad's paid a few things, but I was smart-ish with the money. I invested some of it, so it gave me a return, a big chunk of it. I didn't buy the usual cars and all that stuff that I usually would. And I bought 2 exotic snakes and a watch. Yeah, that's it. That's fine. Tell you why they're important in a minute. So, you know, I was living a lifestyle. One of my mates, the only mate that came, his name's Chris. You're going to meet him. There's a guy that's going to come to our program, inshallah. He was the only guy that used to come see me every week. You know, all my other mates dropped off, you know, when I had this accident and stuff like that. You couldn't give him anything anymore. You had no money, so everyone drops off, you know. Yeah. So he was the only one that came and visited me. So I said to him, I go, man, you know what? When I get that payout, I'm gonna take you away, because he's having some issues as well. So booked a flight the next day. I went to LA and Vegas and Cancun, right? So for me, it was you know, on this high about Islam. But as soon as that money came, You know, I didn't have the tools to understand or teach. No one there to teach me about Islam and stuff. I remember praying on the ground. I didn't know how to pray. I just put my head on the ground, you know. SubhanAllah. So, yeah, I went over there. I was like, I was going to spend 30 grand. That's it. Even that's a lot of money, you know, rented, you know, Ferraris and Lamborghinis, all that stuff. And I spent $80,000 of that money on a trip,
ouch.
you know, with my mate. Again, doing drugs and that sort of stuff, drinking and that, not realizing that this blessing that I had in front of me of Islam, right? SubhanAllah, when I came back, the moment I landed back in Brisbane, the investment went bad, right? This is from Allah, right? So I'm giving you this money, this blessing. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to use it in the correct manner? Are you going to help people? Are you just going to go back to the same shit that you did before? And that's what I did. So, man, those two snakes, two different breeds, two different ways, died on the same day. SubhanAllah.
Oh.
Yeah, SubhanAllah. Yeah, that happened. The watch I had, I lost it. Right? I came back, the investment went bad. All the things I had from that money went bad. I paid my mum's debts, some, you know, people that helped me and debts I had, whatever. But yeah, so the investment was a couple $100,000. That went bad as well. So that was, everything stopped, and that was Allah saying, I know now that puts a block on your sustenance for certain sins that you commit. So for me, that was 1 year, literally 1 year. And but look, it wasn't the worst thing that happened, because subhanAllah, it was, for me, it was like, you know what, I'm back to having nothing, you know, but I've got Islam, you know. So I put my head down and learn about the deen and learn about the rights and wrongs and these sort of things, and didn't have one foot in, one foot out anymore. And I, you know, committed to it 100%, subhanAllah, and man, it changed my life, honestly. For the best, you know, like it was the single best thing that I ever did.
Oh, it's been 6 years, 7 years now.
6 years, man, yeah, 6
6
years, alhamdulillah. And then, you know, just to finish on this, I guess, so the best blessing that I think I've ever had, you know, it was Islam, alhamdulillah.
No doubt.
Second best was being able to give my mother that.
Alhamdulillah.
So when I accepted Islam, my mum, she disowned me. Yeah, so she's just like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So she was headstrong. I told you, headstrong Greek.
Yeah.
Disowned me. That's it. Get out of the house. That, you know, just hated it.
Because at that time, I suppose there was a lot going on with
Man,
Islam. So what she would have thought.
Exactly.
Yeah,
At that time, it was all in the news, terrorists, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Man. So it was like she's like, you're going to be a terrorist, and proper, you know, like
Yeah.
we hear it with people that revert and stuff, and you think, oh, but I know, like I've been there, man. My whole family turned against me.
Yeah, that sucks.
But you know what? To her, I got to give it to this woman, man. She, even though she hated it, like she had a deep hatred towards Islam, you know, for whatever reason, whatever she saw on the news at work, then she's like, oh, we at that time she lived with me. I moved her in with me. She was, you know, going through some stuff, and she sat there, man. I used to watch, no joke, I think for about a year, I watched 2 or 3, 4 hours of Islamic lectures a day,
Wow.
every day. Didn't have a job, just did that, right?
Wow.
So I wanted to learn about it, and subhanAllah, she sat with me and she learned all the stuff that I learned, but she didn't do it from a place of want. She was, I think it was almost, I'm gonna prove this wrong sort of thing, you know. And that was me at the start as well. I challenged a few things, and you know, alhamdulillah, I saw the clarity of it, and it brought me, you know, further in Islam and all the rest of it. But so yeah, but I did the whole thing, you know, like my mum was 76 years old now. I shouldn't say that, actually, she'd kill me. But she was 73 at the time. So for me, it was like she's in the later stages of her life. You know, she's had a hard life, and I want, like, Allah forbid if she dies, you know, subhanAllah, in her sleep, I want her to die in Islam, you know.
So, yeah.
And so what I would do, man, I was push her, you know. So I'm like, you learnt this, you know, now you should accept Islam. You know, I did that for the first 2 years. And then I realized that this isn't getting me anywhere, you know, like trying to push her and make her understand and stuff. So I just backed off. I'm like, you know what? You know, we're the ones who convey the message, but Allah's the one who turns the hearts, you know. So, yeah, so that period, it was funny, man, because she was like, I don't want to hear about it. Don't talk to me about it, all that sort of stuff. And there was one day, it was actually a week, over a couple of days, she was really like interested about stuff that was going on, like lectures that I watched. And I try and find lectures that resonated with her and Christianity, and how, you know, Prophet Isa is the, you know, the mighty messenger of Allah and not God, and you know, all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, so she was really it resonated with her, and she was interested about it. SubhanAllah, it was Friday, it was Jummah. I used to always make dua for her, you know, that Allah, you know, Ya Allah, please turn my mother's heart, you know, and soften her heart towards Islam. That was my regular dua that I made for her every day. Then it was Friday, it was Jummah. I spent the first half of the day with her, and she was like deep into a lecture and deep into, you know, about Islam and real positive. So I'm like, it was Jummah, I was looking at my watch. I have to run and pray Jummah and then come back, and I have to continue this with her because I finally got her at a point where she's like, you know, she's listening and stuff. And then, man, I went and prayed Jummah. I made dua at Jummah that, Ya Allah, you know, open my mother's heart to Islam, the regular thing that I do. I came back, was talking a little bit more, and it's time for Asr. And we, you know, talked a little bit more, and it was like, man, she's right there, you know, subhanAllah. I went, prayed my Asr, and then I made dua, a direct dua to Allah, and I said this time, Ya Allah, make my mother a Muslim, you know. I walked I walked 2 steps, man, to the kitchen sink, and my mum touched me on the shoulder. She goes, I want to become Muslim, subhanAllah. So, man, that was one of the happiest moments of my life, man, subhanAllah. Like, I broke down. Like, I couldn't believe it. I dropped what I had in my hands, and it was like, man, like, this is real. Like, alhamdulillah, I know that my mother's going to, inshallah, enter paradise, you know, from that. So that was a big blessing, man, you know. And these things, all of these things, everything that I have today, every businesses and you know, success, it's not all success. It's, you know, success. I'm not talking about monetary success. That means nothing to me. Success in, you know, in status and helping people, and inshallah in our deen, you know, these things, and being on the right path, that's success to me, you know. Being able to pray in the masjid and have some purpose in my life is success to me, you know, because it was, from where I came from to where I am now, a different person. Absolutely different person. I lost a lot of mates because of it, and that's fine with me, because these people still stuck in that same, you know, merry-go-round and in a hamster wheel doing the same shit over and over. They're still going to be doing the same stuff, and I feel sorry for these people, and I pray for them, because, you know, they don't know any different. To them, it's all glitz and glamour and money and power and drugs and girls and all that sort of stuff, and there's more to life than that, you know.
All of there is.
Man, yeah, alhamdulillah, that's my story, bro.
Well, bro, jazakallah khair. You know, that's it's an amazing story, man. Subhanallah, really. And you know, you often say so many parallels, but yeah, listening to your story from Dan, it's like, wow. You know, it's like a lot of similarities. The mother, the family, the thing, being in hospital, learning to walk again, blah blah blah, all those things, money, inheritance, blah. Yeah, all that stuff was the same. But man, honestly, yeah, look, jazakallah khair. It's Allah bless you and your family. You got a new son.
You, inshallah. Ameen, ameen, ameen.
Keep us strong and steadfast. Keep us guided, and allow our hearts not to forget about those, you know, the miracles that God has shown us, and the favours He showed upon us. And the greatest favour of all, which was to guide us here. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, man.
So look, everyone at home, jazakallah khair, Dean. Jazakallah khair for being here. Wish you all salam alaikum wa rahmatullah. Until next time, brother. I'll see you soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Rahmatullah.